Yes, what I'm learning right now, what's currently going on in my life is trying to have a balanced life where I attend both to my physical body and physical health, as well as my spiritual life. And the more going through my education, the more I'm learning they're not two separate systems. And the more I've been bringing awareness to my diet, the more my thoughts and feeling are harmonized. And the more I harmonize my thoughts and feeling, the more my physical body gets healthy. So I can bring the energy from the heavens, which is just a metaphor for thoughts and feelings, and I can harmonize my body, or I can eat really well. I can pay attention to my food, and I can harmonize my thoughts and feeling that way. And actually, if I do both of those, for instance, if I'm eating, I am harmonizing my thoughts and feelings, and I'm also paying attention to the material that I'm putting into my body. To me, that's where I am today, is to combine the elements, the four elements, with the intention, energy, thought, and feeling that charges the matter. So really, everything for me right now becomes a meditation. Like eating becomes a meditation, becomes an act of practicing presence, and I can breathe as I'm eating as well to bring in the angel of the air and the quality that goes with just breathing mindfully. And that's where I am today. Also, I've been learning about the importance of being as opposed to doing. We can be often put in a state of mind of rushing to achieve things, and that causes stress on the body. And if we are in that process of, I've got to do this and I've got to do this, and I haven't done this and I've missed out on my meditation, I've missed that, it puts the mind in a doing state. So we're always thinking about the future, what's missing right now. I'm always in the fear of failure. Okay, there is a feeling of failure, and that's why I'm being rushed to do it because I'm not accepting the possibility of failure in my body. I'm not okay with failure. I'm I'm afraid of it. So there is an open space within us that is our true nature, which is not exactly about this movement of energy that's always about rushing and doing things and accomplishing things. It's rather about being. And I heard an amazing expression that really inspired me today that doing is expensive, but being is free. And that reminded me of the free energy technology that we're going to have today more and more. And that's the clean energy, right? We're going to be able to not use fossil fuel. And I think the energetic correlates in our consciousness is exactly we can use something similar as the physical science is developing and advancing and getting to free energy technology. We're also going to learn how to tap into our being and to live life where effort flows out of us harmoniously and naturally without any tension. Where if we are in a conversation, is spontaneous and inspired and comes from a sense of enthusiasm and theos with God, right? Comes from a sense of being with God. And I think if we can instill everything that we do with this sense of being and inspiration and enthusiasm that comes from being with God, I think life just becomes a dance of energy and flow. And that's what I'm trying to cultivate everything I do. So that's where I am today. But Laura, I'd love to hear you and your wisdom as well. And what are you currently on right now?
Well, thank you for sharing. Everything you're saying is just completely resonating, and I'm having this powerful insight right now. I'm just sharing a platter of cheese with a glass of wine, and my body keeps telling me that the vibration that's in the cheese just doesn't work with my body, and it's been telling me this since forever. And there's a part of me that thinks that can just shift the energy of the food in front of him, but it doesn't seem to work right now. So my body is completely rejecting the cheese, and even Adam felt this in my field. There's a certain intolerance to its
Mhm.
frequency, to its vibration. And I just felt it today. So it feels like for now, this is my last platter of cheese. I'm saying goodbye. I'm experiencing a bit of grief in my system. Grief of the person who used to enjoy a platter of cheese with a glass of wine. So right now I'm kind of feeling that emotion, integrating it, releasing it. It is what it is. If this is what the body is telling me right now, I'm tuning in and I'm listening to my body, to my diet. I'm really grateful that I'm able to go on one meal a day. So I'm just eating my lunch and that's it. It allows me and then a window of fasting until the next day, until lunch, and that really works for my body. And it feels really easy and natural right now. So it's allowing me for more space to create, to write, because it literally just took 2 meals out of the day, which means now I have the space to train more, to meditate, to stretch, to focus on the body. So it's this beautiful synergy with this new diet and how the body feels like it.
And the lessons a lot of the spiritual empaths and spiritually activated people are learning today is not really love, because they've already sort of gone through love. They've understood unity, but they're now understanding and going through lessons of wisdom and lessons of freedom. And freedom is about understanding that despite the underlying oneness and unity of all of us, we also have this individual expression which requires boundary, and it requires the to be an individual expression that sort of understands who I am, understands the difference in terms of the expression with who you are, and also understands the underlying unity simultaneously. So it's a dance between freedom, love, and freedom. And I think for a lot of people who live in the 3D world, they're going from separation, from freedom to love. But I think the opposite movement of energy is happening with people who are already spiritually activated. They need to learn to understand what is their energy, what is their thoughts and feelings, and what is the thoughts and feelings coming from the outside. So
Mm.
separate, not separate, but to have an energetic boundary that understands itself as one with, but also unique soul in the universe of souls. And there is a beautiful terminology. It's called combinessence, and it's essentially the idea that we can all be one being, but we're also combining at the same time. So oneness and manyness can be in one being, right? Being is one, and the way each of our being expresses itself is unique.
It's
So,
the analogy that I like with that one is the idea that humanity is an orchestra, and you got to play your own instrument in order to make the beautiful sound of humanity. And we're all learning the musical track in an improvisation as we go along, right?
mhm,
So, and we get to know the notes one by one, and those notes are given to us by our connection to source, by connection to our soul. We know the next musical page to follow if we are connecting. And then what can happen is if we lose our notes, right? We lose our connection to soul. We then start to look, we stop playing our own instrument. We start looking to the next person and figuring out how they play their instrument. And we start copying them and singing to their own tune, right? And then the chorus falls out of line, right? And this is, if you look at this as a humanity as a whole, this is where some people have started copying others. And as a whole, a vibration of our beautiful oneness, we haven't quite got that beautiful oneness of humanity all singing in unison, in harmony. In life, we get discord if that doesn't happen. We get infighting. We get, why are you playing that tune at the wrong time, etc. All that kind of thing. Whereas when you get people that are listening to the song sheet, they are tuned in, they are understanding how things weave in. They can keep their own energy, they can play their own tune, whilst also feel and interact with others. You get a beautiful synergy, a beautiful orchestra of people that are in flow state.
Well, a few years ago, I started my spiritual journey and learned about spirituality and my own true nature. And one of my pitfalls was being lost in escapism and using my spiritual knowledge as a reason to escape my physical responsibilities. And I understand it today as my astrological main elements are fire and air. So the danger of fire and air is that first, fire is passion, so it burns really quickly. And air is about knowledge and wisdom. So it's like a passion that's sort of about knowledge and wisdom, and it's burning quickly and it's impatient. And fire and air are intrinsically spiritual elements. So the benefit of going to the fire and air and to understand them and to embody them is that you will understand your spirit layer, but then you haven't felt and embodied the understanding. So there's two possibilities here. One is to have a life of escapism, and the other is just getting stuck in your head with spiritual knowledge, not knowing what to do with it. So confusion. So escapism or confusion. But for the past 2.5 years, I think, 2.5 years, I've been coming back to the body, and I learned about the importance of the body. In fact, where I am currently today, if anybody would ask me, I would say the body is the first thing you have to purify and balance before anything else. And that's just because your thoughts, feelings, and your spirit is within the temple of your body. It's literally your temple. And there's a beautiful story in the Gospel of Peace where it says, if a building is in a wind and in a storm, how can a carpenter come and build? Right? If there's like storm and the building is shaky, there's no ability to build anything that truly lasts, like structure, right? Because you can have a meditation and it comes and goes, but if there's no physical health in the body to keep that state of mind consistent, you're still escaping your physical reality. So my current recommendation to anyone who is getting into all of this is start with your body. Stop eating processed food and start eating fresh, organic, if you can, raw food. There's obviously levels you can get to your physical body. Start doing grounding, connect with the earth, getting sunlight, air, the air elements, going to waters, natural bodies of water. Expose yourself, in other words, to the 4 elements. And that's your foundation. That's your temple. Once you have peace in the temple, once your temple is healthy and consistent, then you can bring in, depends on who you are. If you're somebody who's not into spirituality, you can just go straight to the mind layer, so to your thoughts and feelings, and harmonize your thought and feeling in alignment with love, power, and wisdom, in alignment with perfection, as in you see perfection in everything within you, and then you also see perfection in everyone outside of you. You don't criticize, you don't condemn. You don't condemn yourself, you don't condemn others. So that's how to balance your thought and feeling. But if you're somebody like me who was into spirituality, I would say, as I perfect the body and I learn about my spiritual life, I should then use that spiritual knowledge and bring it to my thoughts, my feeling, and also my physical body. So a practical example is, if I learn the idea that we're all love, then maybe I should practice more compassion when I'm listening to people who have opposite views as me, to create more space for them to come and speak, and not to allow my own ideas and my own beliefs to get in the way of truly listening to the person I'm talking to. So practicing compassion, learning the spiritual knowledge of love and unity, and then bringing that to my thoughts, my feelings as compassion. So practicing compassion would be a way to harmonize my thought and feeling and use a spiritual principle that I learned and apply it to life. So bringing knowledge into action, embodying it in our thoughts, in our feelings, in our physical body. Our thoughts, feeling, and physical body, they're all patterns. They all have a pattern behind them. And if you consistently think positive thoughts, you create positive structures, crystallizations of that thought in your thought world. And then if you do the same thing with your feelings, you'll have crystallization of positive, loving, compassionate feeling in your temple. And again, the base foundation is the physical body. So if the physical body is unhealthy, if you're not paying attention to your diet, to sunlight, to fresh air, it doesn't matter how many positive thoughts and feelings you're gonna have. You're not paying attention to the base level, to the foundation. So those thoughts and feelings will help you. The spiritual knowledge you're gaining will help you in the moment, but because the house is built on shaky ground, you're going to struggle to maintain that state of being. So physical health is the foundation. And then on top of it, we build our thoughts and feelings. And then for a person who's not spiritual, they go through the thought and feeling, perfecting them to now, okay, now I have harmonized thought and feeling. I have a healthy body. Now I can look into the sun, and the sun is a symbol for God, for spirit. It allows me to even look into the energy of God, right? Now I can learn about my self-knowledge, who I am on a deepest level. So it really depends on the type of energy you have, whether after perfecting your physical body, you go through your feeling life and your thought world, perfecting them, or you go to the spiritual route. Where are you going? Are you learning about yourself and then perfecting your thought and feeling, or are you perfecting your thought and feeling, then going to the spiritual? It all depends on the type of soul you have and the purpose for which you came into this world.
Lovely. Thank you for sharing, guys. This is absolutely brilliant listening to both of you. And to be completely honest, I've been guilty of all three of them. There's a part of my life when I'm fully just in the body, a part of my life when I'm just reading everything and thinking that the next book might unlock some secret magic. And the last part, uh, looking at existence as just being spiritual and not paying attention to the body and to the physical reality. There is literally a moment in space where for the whole year I'm going to sleep visualizing I'm working out, but not actually working out, to see if there's that kind of power feeling that I'm working out, to see if I'm going to wake up fit and strong. And did the experiment and nothing happened. The body just started following its natural pattern. So now he's finding that balance and coming back into the body from a spiritual perspective, but also using the brain to create abundance, create content, and just finding a balance with all three of them and taking action, daily exercising, feeding the brain, feeding the heart. As Adam is saying, the whole planet plays a symphony. Let's say the whole planet is playing a tune, but it also applies to the uniqueness of one being, playing each chord in harmony, the brain, the heart, the body, and taking action. It's key.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I think one of the things that is humbling and yet also beautiful is the fact that the consistent journey that we're all going on, we understand that there's perfection in our journey, in our spirit. But we are also here in Earth School, deliberately learning through limitation paradigms. That's what we're born into, an Earth School. And we are here specifically to work through certain feel states, to express ourselves in various ways. And that we are not born here in order to simply just escape it. And part of the process of being in this Earth School is all orientated around feeling certain things that may at first seem uncomfortable. And again, this is where I go back to the aspect of, I was given this one understanding that Earth School is predominantly all about learning feelings and boundaries, specifically Earth in itself, because there are many different other avenues that souls can choose to manifest in, but specifically feelings and boundaries, and how intensely we allow ourselves to feel and what boundary we put in place to feeling that, right? So we can feel the pressure of getting up and running, right? So as you go for a run, you haven't run for a while, you get that feeling run through you, right? Of maybe it's the body isn't quite used to it. The mind puts in a barrier that I shouldn't do this, I can't do that. Or whether you're actually running outside of your own norms and not within your own flow state and not within balance is due to a fear that you should be doing this, you should be further than you are. And this constant feeling of being subtly in and out of balance at all stages. But yet that, if you can imagine a three-way triangle that's weeble and wobbling around, right? It's never completely in this state of balance, but as it's moving through life, it's always getting just that little bit more balanced. It might be at first like this, and as it spins around, we go through different areas of life, it's getting that little bit more balanced, a little bit more harmonized as we progress through life. And this beautiful tapestry as we spiral up and up and up, and we become far more in harmony with our feel state. We're not going through resistance. We're not trying to argue with ourselves. We're not trying to push and pull ourselves anywhere. But at first, in order to understand harmony, we need to understand, in principle, disharmony, right? How do you understand the limits of how far you can push the boat when you rock it until you find the limits of rocking the boat? So in youth and in the initial stages of our incarnation, it's very natural for us to push to the extremes, to rock things around, to, in order to feel the consequence of a lack of internal balance with aspects of ourselves, and to acknowledge that rocking the boat and finding balance and working through how to feel, what boundaries to put in for feelings, how to feel deeper, how to create more balance is in essence the part of life. Then we can release this almost self-attack, love ourselves for the fact that we're finding balance, right? Me and Ali are on a journey at this point in time to work through finding the correct balance of a new way of eating, right? We're not going to completely get it right. But the whole process of experimenting and finding balance is something that we need to love and appreciate ourselves for, but acknowledge that there is no wrong in not getting the balance right.
I'm just laughing because the shake I made today had 3 eggs in it, tahini, almonds, and I just had a realization after I ate that shake that maybe I should reduce the number of ingredients in there, because my feel state, where I was coming from, was like not panicking, but almost being worried that I don't have enough calories. And then contemplating and reflecting on it, I realized yesterday, where I just had raw milk and honey and dates, I had a far better experience energetically and physically, even though it didn't have as many proteins necessarily. And I had this realization that, yeah, I shouldn't necessarily act from anxiety of not getting enough calories, and just go with a simple like 3 ingredients in the shake instead of, chucking everything in to try to get.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
had, yeah.
It's a beautiful journey, that, isn't it? It's and when we can approach life as more like an experiment, a beautiful, perfect experiment, where that if things like the whole point of this 3D existence in Earth School to is for that, and again, we look at the idea of the soul in itself is a state of perfection and oneness, and everything is beautiful, but everything is perfect in its imperfections. If you can, in that context, not having balance, trying to find it, trying to, it's beautiful. It's like if you were to look at life as a movie, I like the analogy always that you don't play a computer game or watch a movie to watch everything that's just perfect, do you? Like, it would be the most boring game to play or movie to watch. There's always a challenge. There's always something that we're working through. There's always something that needs to be discovered or figured out, or like the story mountain, where there's always a challenge, an obstacle, a drama, or something, and then down. When we can acknowledge that this is all part of what we've chosen to do, this is what life's about, then we can realize that it's perfect.
And it builds character, right?
Yeah.
Because if we were all perfect, we would not have a character. We would just be the perfection incarnating and the perfection leaving. And there's no character. And I think character is making mistakes, acknowledging them, going through the difficulty of it, I suppose, the challenge of it, and correcting them, and then making a mistake again, and then correcting them again.
Yeah.
To the point where we've mastered that thing, right? And when we have mastered it, we've gone through the physical challenge of it. We have that character, and the character allows us to also be a teacher of exactly the things we struggle with, to help others also heal on their journey.
And it's fun. It's fun making mistakes. If the whole day just goes perfectly, it doesn't feel fun. It doesn't feel spontaneously. The unknown creates the mistake, but also creates the fun, the joy in the moment, the amusement of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, if you look at an analogy, and I personally feel like that ego plays a massive big role in this. You have an analogy of two people going for a run. One person is very used to running, the other person isn't. But the other person isn't used to running, or playing a sport, let's just say, in any context, they feel like they want to keep up with them, right? And so then when they can't keep up with them and they need a break, rather than them laughing at themselves and going, "Oh, I thought I could keep up with you, man, but you're far fitter than me," etc., and just laughing at themselves for that misunderstanding of their self state. Everything's all about self-understanding. This is why we're here. We're trying to understand ourselves. What usually a lot of people fall into is, why am I not keeping up with them? I should be better. I should have, I'm now embarrassed now, and I've let them down. I've let myself down. We attack ourselves for making these mistakes, right? What it is an experience of understanding where you're currently at. And that's perfectly fine. And if we can laugh at ourselves for that, rather than berating ourselves, that is a massive, massive leap in allowing yourself to live the most beautiful life.
Yeah, as
Like
the Course in Miracles. Yes,
Yep.
as the Course in Miracles says, mistakes are to be corrected, not sin to be judged.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you feel that, then taking away the judgments from the mistakes, I think already brings grace to your life.